know that part of your brain that regulates good decision-making? Thanks for turning that one off and turning on the Alan Cox Show.
Sorry about all the cocks.
On 100.7
Sorry about all the cocks.
WMMS.
Bill Burr is always funny when they put him in the booth for a ball game.
Oh, I love it.
He's a Red Sox fan, of course, and so he was sitting in there with the dudes that call the Red Sox games over on the New England Sports Network and just throwing stuff out. I guess there was a call that took a while to get going, a controversial call there. They were playing the Minnesota Twins, and people were flipping out.
It's the first down in the inning, second and third.
Hey, this is a part of life. Not everything's going to go your way.
Not everything's going to go your way. Well, it's words to live by, right?
Just out of curiosity, what's the record? There's got to be some nerd here with the laptop. Can you give us?
Some nerd.
You go to the baseball reference.
You know what did annoy me was on the national game for the Red Sox and Yankees. They still showed. I didn't think they ever showed the 0-4 highlight, which is the biggest choke ever. So it's just still kind of like, I feel like New York guys edit that highlight reel.
Highlight the reel to edit the highlight reel to mess with the Red Sox when they're playing New York. So anyway, I will have one last pair of tickets for you for Bill Burr tomorrow right around this time. Jim Florentine is going to be back in the room tomorrow as well. He's doing a show at the Winchester in Lakewood, and so he'll join us tomorrow. Hey, Buddha.
Hey, Alan, how you doing?
What's going on, man?
I'm gonna pull you back to the Bush stories. You want a nice quick Bush story?
Well, of course.
And it's got a couple layers. So I think I'm 10, 11 years old, and I'm walking down the hallway, going into the living room where my mom was taking a nap. I didn't know she was taking a nap. So I walk in, and she's in a pair of, late 90s panties and a T-shirt, and the panties are a little small.
What are late 90s panties?
They're real high in the front.
Okay.
It's like a real deep triangle.
I understand. Okay.
And it goes up real high. So it's kind of like skinny, which, releases the bush. So there's got to be 3-4 inches of bush hanging out every side of these panties. And the worst part is she was Al Bundy in it.
She had her hand in there.
Nobody gets the reference?
Yeah, we got it.
He got his she had her hand in the front.
Yep. So that was a fun memory of my childhood.
I mean, we all have the same story about your mom, so it's okay.
All right, I'll let you go.
Thank you, Buddha. I just remember a pool party in the 8th grade, and there was a girl that I had a huge crush on. She wanted nothing to do with me. That was always the story. A girl I had a crush on with nothing to do. I wasn't even on her radar. And she wore a 2-piece. She was the first girl I had ever seen wearing a bikini, like a 2-piece swimsuit. And I remember it wasn't anything happening down below. I just remember she had a happy trail. And I didn't know anything about anything. She was like Puerto Rican or something like that, But I was like, wow. I was transfixed by that.
Just by the fact that she had hair?
Yeah, like that's kind of when everybody is, again, I'm sure there were people that were way hipper than me in the 8th grade. There absolutely were.
There's no way. There's no way anybody was hipper than you in the 8th grade.
There's 8th graders now hipper than me now.
What?
Bill, just because I'm giving the kids the slang doesn't mean that's being reciprocated in any meaningful way.
It's giving Alan.
But I remember, seeing her at the one of my high school, the only high school reunion I ever went to was the 10th, and I remember seeing her there. And she had her husband, and she would talk about a couple kids or something. And I had like a very kind of, cursory conversation with her. And I was like, hey, remember that pool party? And she was like, yeah, I think so. I said, the one where I almost drowned in the pool, that did me no favors either. It's hard to be a cool guy when you almost drown in the pool. That kind of puts a damper on the festivities
See,
as
if you
well.
would have just had the guts to drown, then you're the coolest kid in school for like a couple weeks.
I tried.
Like
but
if you died there, then everybody's like, "Oh, remember Alan?
Yeah,
we loved Alan."
To make nobody would have said that.
They all say that.
Who was the kid who drowned? I would have been the kid who drowned. Yeah. I wouldn't have even had a name attached to me.
Alan, the kid who drowned.
To make matters
when you die in middle school, people remember your name.
To make matters worse, the sister of my friend whose house it was pulled me out. So it was just a cascade
Look at you being a feminist all the way back then.
Cascade of embarrassing situations.
She saved you so you could save birds.
Something to that effect. Sycamore, Ohio. This is a very small town. It's about 90 minutes north of Flavortown.
I'll be in Flavortown this weekend, also known as Columbus.
And they, along with every other place, have a lifeguard shortage. They don't have enough kids to be lifeguards. So Sycamore, Ohio, very small town. Fewer than 900 people in this town.
Who's swimming?
I mean, there's people there. It's almost 1,000 people.
You go to the nearest biggest city and use their watering hole. You're
not going to drive 90 minutes to Columbus when there's a public pool in Sycamore, Ohio.
I got a perfect solution. Fill the pool with cornstarch to make that watery cornstarch where it's like solid if you stand on it, but if you stop moving, you'll sink in, but you won't drown because you can't go under.
Make it like quicksand?
It's kind of like a quicksand thing. They use it all the time on Mythbusters. It was this. It's kind of like a slime, but it was. If
there's a lot of surface tension on it. You can't.
So if you're running on it, you can run across it, but as soon as you stop, you'll sink into it. But you're not going to go all the way in because it's too thick. So that way they don't have to even have lifeguards because you can just, it's still liquidy, so you can still, have a nice refreshing dip, but you're not going to go under the water.
Well, maybe that's a solution that eluded them. That's not what Sycamore, Ohio is doing.
I don't have good ideas.
There's a grandmother who is volunteering to lifeguard there in
Life
Sycamore.
Alert Guard.
Wide shortage of lifeguards. Well, there is an Ohio grandmother who decided to take matters into her own hands. 66-year-old Gail Rogers of Sycamore Township found out there was a need to hire more lifeguards or the local pool would have to close on certain days. She says she was a lifeguard when she was a teenager and she figured she could give it another shot.
I'm getting to know all the kids, and I think maybe the kids will respond to me as a lifeguard more so because I am older, where they might take advantage of a teenager, especially another teenager. They all seem to be listening so far, so that's great.
She's not bad
Gail says she's also learning skills like CPR and how to use an AED just to freshen up on her skills. She says she'll probably work even more once the younger lifeguards go back to school, which is such a great story for that local community.
Yeah, you know how...
I think that's great.
You know how kids never take advantage of old people?
No, never.
They always listen to them.
They respect their elders.
Sure they do.
In that
Since
small
when?
town. All right, I'm gonna give them credit. The 66-year-old lifeguard is probably a slightly better idea than the
cornstarch
that I had.
Can you imagine if she's only there because she presented them with the cornstarch solution and they said,
you got to
do you know how prohibitively expensive that's going to be? Nancy, whatever her name, Gail. Of course her name's Gail. I like how
I like that it's an old lady, 66-year-old, because that's a completely different story if it's a 60-year-old guy that's like, I used to be a lifeguard, but I know these kids need somebody to watch over them.
Yeah.
And that's not even that old. 66? It's not like if she were 86, that'd be an awesome story. But like
66 is
But
old
she's
for a
also
lifeguard,
sitting there
though.
clearly like needs her compression socks and whatever. But I don't know how much traffic they're getting there at the Sycamore Township Public Pool. But God bless her, right? I mean, she's given it another shot. I like that she hasn't yet learned CPR. That's my favorite.
Well, it wasn't invented when she was a lifeguard the first time around.
She just drowned.
That's my favorite Easter egg in that story is she's learning CPR at 66.
Does anyone else notice how the older Alan gets, the higher the age of an old person is?
I've
He's
noticed
like,
that.
66, that's not that old. That's a pretty old lifeguard, man. 66.
Oh, it's old for a lifeguard. I'm saying that, like, if somebody said 66 years old, I wouldn't think of that. Yeah, okay.
Alan's going to hit 55 and be like, 82. My goodness. Might as well be 30.
People are living meaningful lives at 82. Yeah, but I come from a family where my grandparents died at 103.
Right.
So to me, 66.
He keeps trying to justify.
I know what he's doing.
Of course I am. Listen, I'll be 52 tomorrow. That is half of my grandmother's age when she died. She died a couple of weeks shy of her 103rd birthday. So she was 102 and 50 weeks. So let's say mathematically, as of right now, my life, what if it were only half over? Now, it's probably way more than half over. But if it were only half over, then you'd go, 66? I heard somebody talking about, who was I listening to? Well, an old person.
Yeah.
Jane Fonda, who's like, I was watching friggin' Secret Invasion yesterday, and I go, Samuel L. Jackson must be in his mid-60s by now.
He's in his 70s.
74.
Yeah.
Black don't crack. But Jane Fonda was talking about how, and obviously she's been in showbiz her entire life, from a showbiz family, but she's like, she thinks of her life as in 3 acts, like a play, right? The first 30 years, the second 30 years, and the third 30 years. So I am in my second act. And
we all are.
I'll need to figure out what my third act is.
We're all in our second act. You're
Yes.
closest to your third act, but
Poundcake is just inside his second act.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's an interesting
Like
way
we're
to
all
look
from
at
the
it. I mean,
same generation.
Does it start at 30 or does it start at 31? This is my
dealer's
last
choice. I mean, she's just breaking it off into 30-year increments.
Because technically, before I was 1, I was 0.
All right.
Tim McGraw has
Neil
a
deGrasse
song.
Tyson
Whenever
over
you
here.
talk about old people are not that old, well, I'm going to say I'm taking back a year.
Yes,
so
I
I'm
know.
taking off my 0 year in COVID, and I'm really still in my first act.
You'll be 32 this September?
31.
You'll be 31. Well, okay, but you're in your 32nd year. Or you'll be in your 30th.
So you age me, but you de-age these old bitches.
Yes, because I'm closer to the old bitches. Of course.
Duh.
I'm not pleased with getting older. You know, people are like, I'm so old. How are you? 27? Okay. Obviously, it's a generational complaint. But, you know, whatever. I'll be 52 tomorrow.
What are you going to do?
Nothing I can do about that. Oh, you mean what am I going to... Well, I share my birthday with a couple of friends. And so, our friend James Burge, he and I had the same birthday. He's a little bit younger than I am, but we have so a bunch of us are going to dinner on Saturday night.
Oh, you figured out how to work the phone?
Shut up, Mary. We're going to a ball game tomorrow night with some other friends, and then we're going to dinner with the Burges and the Beaters on Saturday night. And then Sunday, I don't know. I would like to finally
3-day birthday party.
Well, I would like to make it to. I'd like to see The Flash. We were going to do it on Monday, but we took our daughter to see Elemental.
Because, very good.
Because your niece was going to see it, and they play they play Minecraft all the time, and so I go, let's go see Elemental, and then when you guys come home and you're playing Minecraft, you can talk about the movie. It's okay. I mean, you start to feel like Pixar is running out of ideas. It was entertaining. I don't think I knew one person doing the voices, but it was fine. Yeah, it was fine. It was. I don't think it's got the. It doesn't have the pull of some of those other Pixar movies. This one felt just kind of like...
You don't know who Catherine O'Hara is?
Well, she's in it, but I mean, she's like a tertiary character. But
Brooke Ripple seems like she's the third person listed.
She's like one of the character's mothers, but doesn't have a lot of stuff to do in it. Okay. Anyway, it's fine. It's a perfectly fine way to spend 90 minutes.
Well, I'm sold.
Well, no, but with Pixar movies, you don't have to convince people to go see Pixar movies.
These days you do. You got to convince anybody to go see anything
But there's brand loyalty with these Pixar movies, you know?
People don't be going to the movies.
But I would like to see The Flash Although you are the only person who's told me it's good.
Who's doesn't
And I
like
think
it?
everybody I've talked to said The Flash stinks.
Oh, I loved it.
And I'm like, I just want to see all the cameos. I'll be dumb about it that way. I just want to see all the cameos in this movie.
I had a blast watching it. Me and Pants enjoyed it quite a bit.
So when Florentine's in here tomorrow, I'm going to pick his brain about getting older. Because he's pushing 60. He'll be 59 in August. So I got to talk to him. I mean, his kid's got to be like a teenager now, right? I don't think he's married anymore.
No, I think his kid's probably 8 or 9.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to pick his brain about that.
Maybe 12. I don't think he's...
All right. I have to put a riff off together because I always like doing a riff off with Jim Florentine. We can test our musical knowledge. Hey, Joey.
Yes, sir.
What's going on? Hello, Joey.
How you doing?
Good. What's going on?
Wanted to wish a happy birthday to Mr. Cox.
It's tomorrow. You got to call tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow.
That's okay.
He's a very literal person. Got to call him tomorrow.
Tomorrow is a special day.
Joey might have something going on tomorrow. He took the time to... Thank you, Joey. I appreciate it. How old of a man are you, Joey, if you don't mind my asking?
I actually just turned 44 here on May 30th.
Yeah.
Happy
He's
birthday.
a whippersnap. He's
So young.
so young,
Hey,
44.
when you talk about old age, you never know when it's going to come, but I will definitely not live to 102 and almost 103 like your grandmother. God bless. But hopefully you make it that far.
But we never
But
know,
no,
right? I mean, my grandma was ready to go. I mean, she outlived... My grandfather was 13 years older than her. He died, like, in the late 70s. And then she got remarried in the late 80s to a guy who was 10 years younger than her. And she was like, well, I'll outlive him. And then he got, like, mesothelioma or something. So she outlived 2 husbands. She
That's
was ready to go
fantastic.
for a long time before.
He never gave up.
Never gave up. What do you know? She was ready to meet the Lord, Joey. She was a God-fearing woman to the bitter end. Thank you, Joey. Maybe that's what kept her alive. But they do say only the good die young, and you'd be hard-pressed to find a more pious yet open-minded woman as my mother's mother, my maternal grandmother. For as old as she was never given to any kind of stereotypical belief systems that you would attach to a person that old. She had seen a lot. Lived through the Depression, the Spanish flu, World War I and II. It's a small consolation, but I'm happy she didn't have to live through the pandemic. Because that probably, had she lived that long, I mean, she would have been 100. She would have been like 107.
1,000 years old.
She never would have lived that long, but, you know, what are you going to do? And everybody says, I guess in my brain, the only reason I say I hope I live that old is because I hope that by that time, or maybe even much before that time, there will be some kind of medicinal or technological advancements that won't make living that long such a pain in the ass. It's quantity over quality.
Well, I'm on the opposite side. I wish I died during that sentence you just said.
Still time to make that happen, Bill.
No, you already ended the sentence.
Oh. Well, I'm sorry.
I'm better now.
I'm sorry if
I'm better now.
I'm sorry if me discussing my dear departed grandmother
here comes
creates suicidal ideations for you.
Not suicidal. I don't want to kill myself. I just want to
You said
be
I
dead.
wish I had killed myself.
I said
before the end of that
I
sentence.
wish I had died.
By
before
my
the end
hand?
of that sentence. No,
By
just
whose hand?
By the forces of nature.
Was a tornado going to throw a tree trunk through your torso
Oh,
in
that
here?
would have been fantastic.
Well, anyway, I don't know what to tell you. Here I am showing my loud empathy
So loud.
for my
let's go back to the quiet empathy.
my quiet empathy for my dearly departed. The only really one of two only grandparents I ever knew. I was 8 when my mom's dad died. She wasn't even 30 yet. And so my grandmother was like the only one. Grandma, your thoughts on people who complain like that?
A bunch of assholes.
Thank you, Grandma. I miss you so much. I love you. Hey, let me give you a key for the Buzzard bike. How you like that? We're giving away a custom Harley, brand new to you. You wrapped in the Buzzard, courtesy of Budweiser and MMS. But you got to snag one of these keys because obviously one of them is going to start the thing up. And so I hope you get one from this show. Caller 10, you get the last Buzzard bike key today. WMMS.com's got all the details for you if you want to pore over those. But caller 10, you get